Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome to the news on Equinoxe television. Tonight, Cameroon is a nation fighting on multiple fronts. In the far north region of the country, the people of Kosa, a locality in the Mayo-Sava, are dancing to resist the activities of the Boko Haram terrorist group, using culture to teach difference and begging for government to send more security officials to that part. In the southwest region of the country, after years of gunfire and shutdown, parents in Nguti subdivision of the Kupe-Maningu are daring to hope again, preparing to send their children back to school come September the 7th, 2026 across Cameroon. And on the roads, frustration continues to grow. A case in point, the Gander-Paro highway, promised by government officials in Cameroon many months ago, is still stuck in the mud and potholes, with a new contractor now needed by the local people to finish the work as they expect to boost their economic and social activities. In politics tonight, the race is on. The MP-free political party is hitting the grassroots to register young Cameroonians in the hinterlands of Cameroon before the August 31st deadline, ahead of the twin elections in the country. And on the top, uncertainty roams. Bomberg is flagging concerns over President Paul Biya's prolonged absence from the nation Cameroon and what it means for investors and the country's future. All these and more will be yours in this edition of the news. You made the right choice to be informed by Equinoxe Television. And I am Armstrong Sander, live from Equinoxe Central News Desk in Cameroon's economic capital city, Douala. Douala is the largest city in Cameroon and the Central African sub-region. Equinoxe Central News Desk. Now we're starting with one of our lead stories. Despite increasing insecurity and attacks from members of the Boko Haram terrorist group in Kosa, a locality in Cameroon's far north region of the country, the people are using cultural festivals to fight back against Boko Haram, but also using the opportunity to teach young persons defense strategies as they ask for the deployment of more security officials by the state of Cameroon to keep Kosa and the rest of the far north region safe from activities of Boko Haram. Our lady Glory Mala has more in the following report.
We are in Kosa, a locality situated near the Mandara Mountains in the Mayo-Tanaga division of the far north region, where escalating insecurity has claimed numerous lives, displaced families, and worsened hunger. Locals now describe the area as a red zone with limited presence of security forces. It is within this challenging environment that the population has chosen to host the Mafa International Arts and Culture Festival known as FIAMA 2026. According to community elite, specific cultural elements such as the traditional dance competitions are designed to help the population preserve and practice techniques to defend themselves against ongoing Boko Haram attacks. Furthermore, the inhabitants see the festival as a platform to channel their grievances directly to the state, urging immediate government intervention.
Le festival est une vitrine pour faire comprendre nos difficultés, nos peines et nos problèmes d'insécurité.
Beyond security and advocacy,
ça sert à consolider.
The festival aims to preserve cultural heritage and consolidate peaceful coexistence within the community. In the face of intense regional challenges, FIAMA 2026 serves as a powerful symbol of unity, fraternity, and peaceful resistance.
Le rôle que la chefferie joue, c'est un rôle important. Vous savez que la tradition, c'est de génération en génération. Donc, c'est quelque chose qu'on ne va pas perdre.
And the take-home message for the inhabitants during this festival was to preserve their culture, protect their identity, and continue to believe in the future despite the prevailing difficulties.
And we're not leaving the northern regions of Cameroon this time around from the far north to the Adama region to say that for the people living along Cameroon's Gander-Paro highway, getting from one place to another has become a veritable nightmare. Potholes filled with stagnant waters, deep mud, as well as long delays are making travels extremely difficult, pushing transport high and adversely affecting economic and social activities. A road project meant to improve lives on that part of the Adama region of Cameroon has now been stalled for several months, even after promises made by state officials in Cameroon. Government says it is bringing in a new contractor to get the 70-kilometer project back on track. Babila Jonathan, staffman, has the rest in the following report.
Potholes filled with stagnant water, endless stretches of mud, and a work site overgrown with wheat. This is the picture of the Gander-Paro road project in Cameroon's Adamawa region. Construction work on the 70-kilometer road has come to a standstill despite some progress recorded by the contractor, including the laying of the surface layer on approximately 5 kilometers of the road. She says the situation is complicated. During an emergency, it is difficult to find a car to transport the patient to Gaundere. Transport fares increased. The project was initially scheduled for completion in December 2025. That deadline has now passed with no clear indication of when the works will be completed. The foreign construction company contracted to execute the project abandoned the site in May 2026.
La route Gander-Paro est une route qui est en travaux depuis à peu près 7 ans.
The technical advisor number 1 at the Ministry of Public Works, Leopold Akonumvondo, attributes the slow pace of the construction works to organizational problems within the company executing the project. Concerned about the strategic importance of the road, the Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Ganun-Jumesi, is now turning to a new contractor to take over the project and restore progress on the site.
L'idée, c'est d'envisager comment mobiliser une nouvelle entreprise sur le terrain.
According to Michel Mbala Ibumbu, Director of Works at the Ministry of Public Works, the purpose of switching to another company is to fast-track the works while reducing the cost. In the meantime, the Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Ganun-Jumesi, reassures that construction works on the Gander-Paro road will resume very soon.
Les travaux vont reprendre assez rapidement.
He has instructed the outgoing contractor to keep its equipment on site, safeguard the construction materials already available, and refrain from selling the aggregates intended for the project.
And let's leave the Grand North region of Cameroon to the Grand South to say that after years of disruptions caused by a close to 10-year-long armed conflict in Cameroon's northwest and southwest English-speaking regions, Nguti, a locality in the Kope Maninguba of the southwest, is picking up pieces, with some parents now mobilizing and hoping to send their children back to school come September the 7th, 2026. Rex Safon from Aboya Bureau takes us to some areas of Nguti and tells us how just prepared the people are hoping for September 7th.
This is Nguti, chief town of the Nguti subdivision. The town is still struggling to recover from the mortar blow dealt it by the armed conflict. For years, schools in this locality remained closed, with some campuses gradually being transformed into semi-forests. Now, just a few weeks to the start of the 2026-2027 academic year, many families are preparing to send their children back to school in Nguti.
We know it has been a very terrifying moment for all of us. But despite this, the intellectual and moral development of the nation and the youth. And that is why education has remained an unfailing pillar of the church. And so we put every means possible so that we should have means to educate the young.
With the gradual return to normalcy, some elites believe education must be encouraged and supported as much as possible.
I strongly believe that based on the work I do, that both traditional rulers and politicians have a great role to play in the development of their communities.
We cannot say the fact that We have been beneficiaries of the benevolence of some good people. We remain ever grateful, especially the David Hoyle Foundation, who have always been with us. They have always supported us. Even as we speak, there are projects which they are carrying out, and they are still ready to come to our aid to ensure that the school, the students learn in a conducive environment.
Though some parents express concern over the uncertain security situation, they remain determined to ensure that their children receive a proper education.
On to one of the major news stories across the nation, Cameroon. Bloomberg, the US-based financial and business news organization, has raised fresh concerns over President Paul Biya's prolonged absence from the nation, warning that uncertainty over the leadership of the nation and a succession plan is weighing heavy on investors' confidence on the nation, Cameroon. While economist Edmond Kiati says the concerns reflect anxieties already felt by the Cameroonian people, a financial expert, David Kiati, maintains that the country's institutions remain capable of ensuring continuity even with the absence of President Paul Biya. All of that will be Innocent Azeh in the following report.
The prolonged absence of President Paul Biya is increasingly becoming a concern for investors, with Bloomberg warning that uncertainty over his leadership and the country's succession plan is weighing on Cameroon's dollar-denominated bonds. In a report published on August 7, the U.S. financial news organization says Biya has not been seen in public since leaving Cameroon for Geneva on June 7. The length of his stay abroad has intensified questions over governance and what happens in the event of a political transition. Bloomberg reports that yields on Cameroon's bonds maturing in 2033 have risen by 70 basis points since Biya's departure, reaching about 9.5%. Shorter-dated bonds maturing in 2031 have also seen yields rise. The report describes Cameroon's dollar bonds as the worst performing in Africa since early June. The absence of a designated successor is another concern highlighted by Bloomberg, which says investors are seeking clarity on the governance risk that could accompany a political transition. But for economist Edmond Kwate, Bloomberg is simply saying publicly what Cameroonians already know. Edmond argues that the president's prolonged absence naturally fuels speculation and uncertainty, particularly given his age and questions surrounding his ability to continue carrying out the full responsibility of office. For Kwate still, the consequences extend beyond politics to the economy and the financial markets, where confidence remains the foundation of investment. Uncertainty over leadership and succession, he says, inevitably makes investors more cautious.
Ça s'appelle la confiance.
Financial expert David Kwate, however, strikes a more reassuring note. He acknowledges that
le socle des transactions sur le marché financier.
Political stability is the first component of country risk, and that uncertainty at the top can affect the economic, social, and legal environment.
Sur le lendemain.
But he insists Biya's absence should not create the impression Cameroon cannot function. The state, he says, has institutions and officials who must continue carrying out their responsibilities. David Kwate is also skeptical about giving too much weight to warnings from international financial publications such as Bloomberg, the Wall Street Journal, and others.
Les investisseurs deviennent très frileux.
For investors, the debate therefore goes beyond the president's physical absence. It is about political stability, institutional continuity, and above all, clarity over Cameroon's future leadership.
And still in politics, on political stability, democratic institutions and activities still need to move on in Cameroon. In the meantime, the race to mobilize young voters is gaining momentum across the nation as the MP-free opposition political party has taken its campaign trail to the grassroots, encouraging majority young Cameroonians to get themselves fully registered and ready for the twin elections expected sometime next year ahead of the August 31st deadline. Immaculate Fogwem reports.
The Patriotic Movement for the Prosperity of the People, MP3 Party, is stepping up its nationwide campaign to encourage citizens, particularly young people, to register on the electoral roll. In some neighborhoods in Yaoundé 4 subdivision, hairdressing salons, drinking spots and other commercial spaces are being visited. The people seem discouraged. It is therefore important for us to remobilize them and tell them not to be discouraged. It concerns each and every one of us, and it's a civic duty that must be fulfilled. The door-to-door campaign is being carried out in collaboration with the LECAM, the body in charge of organizing elections, which is also working to register new voters. We are here with the representatives of different political parties trying to encourage Cameroonians to register. The population is happy with this door-to-door initiative and they are embracing it. We believe that by the end of this week, we will have registered a maximum number of people. The message appears to be reaching some of the targeted residents as several young people took advantage of the campaign to register. I have just registered on electoral roll. I am very happy. It makes me feel good to have taken this step. I think that in the next elections, I'll be able to exercise my civic duty. The MP3 party is looking to build a pool of potential voters ahead of next year's legislative and municipal elections. For the party led by Iram Samuel EOD, winning seats in parliament and local councils begins with getting citizens registered, collecting their voters' cards, and ultimately turning out to vote on election day. We particularly want to tell young people that from the age of 20, they can register and vote. And from the age of 23, they can become municipal councillors and members of parliament. Through this concrete action, the MP3 party is demonstrating its determination to be a party that is close to the population and takes concrete action. The party says its proximity campaigns will continue until August 31st, the deadline for registration on the electoral roll. The countdown is on, and the MP3 party is calling on citizens to take their place in the electoral process.
Although agriculture remains a major source of livelihoods for the majority of Cameroonians, farmers continue to face challenges enormously linked to limited production or resulting to limited production and access to market spaces for their produce. To address some of these challenges through technology, the National Agency for Information and Communication Technologies, ANTIC, is training farmers in Limbe, the Fako of the Southwest region. It is training them on how to use technology to get solutions aimed at improving farming practices and also connecting them to better market opportunities. Rex Afon from Boya has more in the following report.
Agriculture is widely regarded as the lifeline of many Cameroonians.
Agriculture is the backbone of Cameroon's economy. According to the GeoFactbook, the sector employs a substantial share of the labor force, contributes approximately 16 to 18% of the country's GDP, and provides livelihoods for millions of Cameroonians, particularly those in the rural areas.
Despite its economic benefits, the sector continues to face several challenges.
Cameroon's agricultural sector continues to face persistent challenges, including climate change, conflicts affecting production areas, inadequate infrastructure, limited access to finance and markets, and substantial post-harvest losses. The Food and Agriculture Organization estimates that more than 2.8 million people in the country are estimated to be experiencing severe food insecurity.
In a bid to introduce innovative solutions to some of these challenges, the National Agency for Information and Communication Technologies is meeting with farmers in Limbe to introduce digital tools designed to improve farming practices.
Technology that we're talking about today, like the mobile application, artificial intelligence, data analytics, and so on, they come in to drive, increase productivity, reduces losses, and also enable farmers to have a reach in markets that they never had before.
Farmers believe this initiative offers them an opportunity to learn better and more efficient ways of cultivating their crops.
We need digital tech that can help us see how activities are being done in our farm, how we can equally keep data, and also how to manage our crops.
For 3 days, stakeholders in the agricultural sector will be trained on how to improve farming practices, embrace digital solutions, and meet global standards.
And in sport, without a transition, we tell you that Cameroon's indomitable Lionesses will face debutants Malawi in the finals of the Women's African Cup of Nations unfolding in the North African Kingdom of Morocco. The Lionesses of Cameroon, called them Cameroonian Ladies, beat host country Morocco on penalties, while Malawi urged Algeria to reach their first ever finals. Smart Njikangebe tells us just how both teams battled their way to the historic showdown.
Cameroon weren't even supposed to be in Morocco but qualified late after CAF expanded the tournament to 16 teams and handed them a spot via FIFA rankings. Now they have knocked out defending champions Nigeria in the quarterfinals and stunned host Morocco on penalties in the semis. It's their fourth ever WAFCON final. Under head coach Valentin Ngele, the Lionesses have been solid. 5 goals scored by 3 different players, just 2 conceded in 5 matches with 2 draws. Few people expected them to come this far. Now there is just 1 game to go. Standing in their way, another history maker, Malawi. On their very first WAFCON appearance, the Scorchers have already qualified for their first World Cup and reached the Final 4, and they haven't stopped there. Malawi is chasing the trophy now. If Cameroon has 5 goals, Malawi has 12. The Chawinga sisters have been unstoppable. Temwa leads the tournament with 5 goals. Her sister Tabitha has 3. Together, they have driven Malawi's run. The grand finale is set for Sunday, August 16, 2026, and there is more than just the trophy at stake. CAF doubled the prize money this year to $2 million, which is about 1.1 billion francs CFA.
And to the sports, can Mikaeli Bihina deliver Cameroon's first ever continental title in the female category? Sport analyst Angu Leslie believes that her current form could do just that for the nation Cameroon, but he warns that the Lionesses must not underestimate Malawi on Sunday's WAFCON finals in Morocco. Smart Jikan once again.
The 22-year-old goalkeeper Mikaeli Bihina produced a spectacular performance against host Morocco in Wednesday's WAFCON semi-final. Bihina saved 4 penalties to send the indomitable Lionesses to their 4th final. A leading sports analyst says the performance came as no surprise.
I'm not surprised by what she's had in the Cameroon team in this tournament. Given that it's a girl that grew around here, and we all saw glimpses of this from her baby steps days. So she's just enhancing the reputation she had already created for herself from back at home.
For him, Bihina is a different goalkeeper now, more matured and finally taking responsibility for her actions.
What has become better in her game is her capacity to take responsibility. Yes, it's true she was captain of the under-17 as far back as 2020 and took a penalty in a World Cup qualifier game. But now you begin to hear stories from the camp like she tells her teammates, this game is going to be my game, I'm going to decide this game. So this is what has really made her better.
He credits part of that growth to her early move abroad. Bihina currently plays for SL Benfica Women in Portugal.
The fact that she went to Europe early, she's just 22, the fact that she went to Europe early, competing in a country which encourages goalkeepers to take responsibility, has really helped her reputation. They say great goalkeepers win new competitions. She's the reason why Cameroon is in the final and are in with a chance to win if she keeps performing that way.
The analyst adds that history is repeating itself. He says Cameroon's past trophies in the men's category have always come on the back of great goalkeeping, and with Bihina in form, he believes this year could be no different.
If you think about Idris Carlos coming in the Olympic teams, you think about Alumboka's back-to-back AFCON win, it's always been down to great goalkeeping, Thomas, Kono, Joseph Antoine Bell. So we're hoping that it's Mikaeli beginner's time to shine, and shining as a goalkeeper under Valentine Gele only reminds us of the great story of Vladimir Biera.
Cameroon takes on Malawi for the grand finale this Sunday.
And that's where we put an end to this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you immensely for your keen attention. Now, do not go away. Interesting programs continues on Equinoxe. Ask for information. You're going to be having a full edition of news in the French language. That will be at 8 p.m. For me, rendezvous is taken for tomorrow, Friday, same time, on same platform. Have a nice evening.